So Tencent is dropping something pretty awesome in the AI video space. Hunyuan Custom, a multimodal AI video generator that is open source and free. So today we'll see how it looks and, well, how it works. Plus I've got a place where you can try it out even if you're not savvy with downloading models. Speaking of multimodal, we're going to check in with Google as they have just updated their Gemini image model. Well, you can use that one for free too. Staying on the free train and proving that things come in 3, Runway is also going free, kinda. Details on that coming up. Kicking off, in kind of big and awesome news, Tencent is releasing a new open source multimodal video model called Hunyuan Custom. This is coming in advance of a big event that they are holding tomorrow called Open Source Day. Clearly, Hunyuan Custom is going to be, a flagship part of that presentation. It's unclear as to whether they will be showcasing other things. There might be some other stuff on the Hunyaun 3D model, but that remains to be seen. In the meantime, Hunyuan Custom is a meal unto itself. Now, we've talked a bit about multimodal models on the channel in the past, but just to bring you up to speed in case you weren't aware, typically up to this point, the way that we generate AI images and video is through a diffusion process. That's where everything begins with a burst of static, and then the model begins hallucinating over that static based off of your prompt to create either an image or a frame of video. The problem with the hallucination method is that, of course, as the model continues on, it will hallucinate more and more and eventually end up further and further from reality, as showcased here in my opinion, the greatest AI video ever created. I never get tired of watching this. I always find something new to laugh at in it. This is one video that belongs in a museum. So multimodal models, on the other hand, such as those that we're seeing from OpenAI's image generator, and we'll be taking a look at Gemini in just a little bit. I'm not going to go super deep here, but they're able to create natively and understand multiple different reference sources, even from different media as well. On the video side, while this is still very new, it isn't necessarily something that we haven't seen before, as this is the idea behind things like Kling's Elements. Video, I believe, has this, and a number of Pika features, obviously. So I'm going to keep this on the breezy side, but I do think that this is an interesting moment to, stop down for a second and just explain how video generators work. Obviously, we begin with our reference image, a dude wearing a Hunyaun t-shirt. Where do I score the swag like that? From there, obviously, the image goes over to the VAE. So that is a variational autoencoder. You can basically think of it, again, keeping this very simple, as something that kind of examines your image and breaks it down into more manageable segments. That data is then taken over to LLaVA, which is Hunyaun's large multimodal model. And then on the opposite side, of course, we have our text prompt. We can see here that we have our text prompt tokens of a man, and then the text prompt is surrounded by documents. Note that the man is in red, and then on this side are image prompt tokens of the man, once again in red, looks like, and then a reference back to our reference image. From there, LLaVA kicks out to Hunyaun video. As we can see here, we have our video latents, or that burst of static, along with our ID enhanced video latents of our reference character. That then kicks over, and then we have our generated video. Now, here's where things get kind of interesting, is that with this model, not only can you provide, obviously, multiple references, but you can also drive it with video. So as we can see here, we can replace our guy in the Hunyaun t-shirt with a supermodel who is probably getting paid 25% less than our dude. Am I right, ladies? From there, it moves over to the tokenizer, which breaks everything down as we saw in that first section. And then finally over to this FC, which stands for fully connected, or fully connected layer. And that's the thing that just kind of serves as like an overwatch to make sure that all the parts are in sync with one another. From there, we then kick back up to the Hunyaun video model, and of course, our output would then change. There also is audio-driven video generation down here as well. We'll take a look at that in just a little bit. Ultimately, how does it look? Well, pretty good in all honesty. Obviously here we have our reference character, and the text prompt here is a woman takes a selfie on a busy street, holding a smartphone, which it did get, in one hand, and a peace sign with the other, which it did indeed get. And to note, there's no city background here, so that background is completely generated along with all of the character's motions, and again, the phone as well. A little bit of morph as she brings her phone down that I just noticed. It kind of, takes the very bottom of it off, but, overall, not too bad. The model can also do non-human characters, as we see here with this, is that a Labradoodle? I'm not sure what kind of dog that is. Bichon? I'm not sure. But anyways, good dog regardless. And the text prompt here being a simple dog chasing a cat in the park. So the cat is completely generated as well. Also, well, a little bit on the morphy side with that guy, but the dog does stay really fairly consistent. But it does seem to do a very good job with multi-referencing characters, as we have like this shot here of a doctor and our model that was working earlier. He's clearly delivering the news that the old guy in the Hunyaun t-shirt just suffered some kind of medical emergency. She's wondering if she gets, the 25% pay bump, and he's like, no, of course not. And what's really cool is that we have driving video in painting with a reference, as we see here with this magician guy. In the source video, obviously he's wearing, kind of a bowler hat, and then that is replaced with kind of like this novelty Mickey cap. I will note that there is a little bit of like decoherence that happens on the hand right there, or maybe he's just a terrible magician. I'm not sure which, but yeah, it's sort of hard to tell considering that the reference video is so small. Now, granted, there is a pretty tremendous amount of movement in that magician clip. I do think that it does a little bit better with, this is still handheld, but the swap here of like, more of a traditional teddy bear with kind of this husky bear. What's kind of impressive here is that you can see in the source video here that the little girl actually knocks the bear, and actually in the video Inpainted version, we do get that head knock as well. So yeah, well done. A few more quick examples before we roll into shootouts. Beginning with the reference image here of this dude. I think that's a photo. I'm pretty sure it's a photo. I don't think it's AI generated. It is getting harder and harder to tell. Yeah, we basically run through a day in this guy's life, and he is way too happy. He begins by, eating breakfast, obviously, taking the subway. Far too happy to be on the subway. He is then at work, shuffling papers around, taking his dog out for a run. I will note that, the background here does look very green screeny, I guess. Nice work on the shadows there, though. And for the most part, I will say pace-wise, he doesn't not look like he and the dog are, running at the same pace. And then finally, he is going to sleep that night with his stuffed teddy bear. Well, where's this poor dog? He should be snuggling with his dog. Moving on to some comparisons with other state-of-the-art models. I got to give it up to Hunyaun on this one because they actually do a pretty good job of like an actual shootout. They're really not kind of sugarcoating things and trying to make theirs look like the best. There are definitely some examples that we'll see where they aren't the best. In this case, we have this character reference of this woman here and the prompt being playing a violin. I do think that their output looks really good. The Kling output looks very cinematic, as well as the video one. The Pika one, if you look very closely, I think that there are some anatomy problems. The character kind of loses a little bit. Minimax Hailu just kind of changes into a totally different character. And the Sky Rails one looks pretty good as well, although it does seem to kind of pause at one point. There isn't quite as much motion with her as well. Once again, we do have our dog playing in the park. We did see this one earlier with the Hunyuan model where we kind of had a little bit of morphing going on. Kling went like full experimental film here with the prompt. Video actually looks pretty solid. I don't know about chasing. It kind of looks like more like their pals running together. Pika obviously ended up turning the cat into kind of a computer generated like CGI type character. Skyreels missed the assignment completely, turning it into a totally different dog. And then Vase, yeah, there are definitely some problems here. I think this one runs at 3 seconds, but if you notice the dog, as the dog turns around, it kind of turns into a cat dog. Moving over to object referencing, in this case, the subject being this dress. This one is pretty interesting. Now, obviously, the character will be changing in each one of these generations as the character is not the subject of the reference, but rather the dress. The Hunyaun model does a pretty admirable job there capturing that dress. The Kling output, I think, is pretty interesting as we do see a lot of that like hypersaturated color when it comes to Kling, but in this case, actually working against it as it's totally changing the color of the dress. The video model does once again, a pretty admirable job here. A little not heavy on the motion. Pika, yeah, Pika looks like it it kind of got the dress more or less. Skyrails and Vase, I think, are, those are the two kind of duds of this particular shootout, as neither of them decided to hand the assignment in. Moving over to multi-referencing, we begin with this, I guess like college student and a tiger. The prompt here obviously being, the college student rides the tiger. I don't know what class that is, but I definitely want to take it. Out of all of these, I would say, in my opinion at least, I think the video model actually looks the best. Pika, fairly serviceable. Skyrails definitely skipped class that day. Vase does a pretty solid job, but it does miss the fact that we do see in the reference image that she's wearing jeans. They just decided to go with like white pants there. And yeah, the Kling model, so-so-ish. And I was going to dock the Hunyuan model because she's actually not wearing shoes in this. And admittedly, while we do not have reference of her wearing shoes, it does seem like every other model put her in shoes. And just my thought is that if that tiger decides to eat you, you should probably have shoes on to try to run. And then I realized that you probably stand no chance anyway. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and not dock them that point. For a Hunyaun win, we have this example of reference image of this guy in kind of like a blue velour jacket, man in a blue business suit after hours. The prompt here has to be something along the lines of, man dancing and cooking in his kitchen. I do think that the Hunyaun model actually pulls this off very nicely with his wide angle shot, showcasing the kitchen, man dancing, man cooking. The Kling model, again, it looks, very nice and crisp, but we are kind of losing details of the background kitchen. Video model kind of loses the texture of the jacket here and doesn't really do a lot. It just kind of more looks like an animated GIF. Pika does look very good here. Again, medium shot here, character looking pretty consistent, maybe a little more buff than he is in the reference image, but overall really nice detail in the kitchen itself. We do lose kind of like that dancing aspect of it, but overall I do think that that's a pretty solid generation. Minimax does end up missing our character entirely, although he is wearing the DJI mic, so props to him. Definitely trained on some kind of YouTube cooking video. And then Skyrails, just kind of a mess there. Guy eating noodles with his hands. Not in that jacket, sir. That dry cleaning bill is going to be a lot. Rounding out multi-referencing, I thought this one was pretty interesting, actually. We have our, kind of like pop star kid and a traditional Han Fu outfit, and the prompt here was he was crossing a stone bridge while it was raining. The Hunyaun model looks pretty decent, except for like the last couple of seconds where we get somebody like just like rolling by like at hyperspeed. The Kling output, again, this goes back to that whole thing of them kind of putting this kind of like cinematic-y color saturation on everything. I think this is the real winner. Video, kind of amusingly, has rain inside of the umbrella. We all definitely have days where we feel that way. Pika, not so bad as well. Skyrails and Vase, little bit of a mess. But again, overall, although those were my opinions on each of those outputs, feel free to let me know if you disagree with any of them. I do have to give it up to Hunyaun for not, cherry picking the best of their results and the worst of everyone else's. That said, where I think things really fly with this model is in the subject referencing video in painting. Giving it driving video, this is probably stock video of some kind, reference image of being this bag and then placing it in or replacing her bag with this one. That looks really good. This is the one that I've definitely been seeing the most making the social rounds, as we do have a character from Nadaro. I think it's from Nadaro at least. Crunchyroll subscribers, let me know. But yeah, this looks really pretty impressive. Definitely on a level at or possibly like slightly above Vigil. This looks really solid. That said, the code, while not available, should be tomorrow, both on Hugging Face and on GitHub. Currently, if you try to click the link, it just 404s you. But if you're interested, you can indeed try it out right now completely for free by hitting this, try it now button. The link to this will be down below. And I do have to say, you can try it out. I can't try it out because for some reason, I always end up with problems on the Hunyaun platform. I don't know I think it's an ISP issue in all honesty with me. If anyone else has Verizon, please let me know if you're able to access this. I've tried like 100 different things. For some reason, it just kind of blanks out on me. That said, you should be able to log into this fairly easily. You don't need like a Chinese mobile phone number anymore. You can just get a validation code via email. One note is that I would recommend using a Chrome type browser to make sure that you're able to translate the page, just so that you know where you're aiming. Although honestly, we've gotten so good at all of this stuff that I'm pretty sure that I could have just done this blindly. Obviously, I'll be keeping an eye on tomorrow's event, and I will definitely let you know if anything else interesting drops. In the meantime, probably as of tomorrow, code will be available. Sliding over to some Google news. Amongst the slew of Gemini 2.5 Pro news that has come out, a lot of which is really cool. I have seen some really interesting stuff like this interactive visualizer here that was essentially coded up in 2.5 Pro. Someone else did a 3D gorilla versus 100 men simulation. The rules here are really funny. Gorilla is vastly stronger. Men have numbers, but low morale. Unarmed. Which was then followed up with a simulation of Godzilla versus 100 gorillas. And no spoilers here, Godzilla wins. So I haven't gotten a chance to really dig into this, but there is obviously a lot of like really cool and creative things that you can do here. It does have me thinking about, what we can do in terms of generating assets for like video to video. So definitely let me know in the comments if you want to see a Gemini 2.5 Pro video. So obviously 2.5 is getting all of the press love, but kind of quietly under the radar, 2.0 actually updated their image model. You can still use this one for free. What's new in this one is better visual quality, more accurate text rendering, and significantly reduced filter block rates. So to use this in AI Studio, the link will be down below. Just come up to the chat tab here, and then make sure that you are on the Gemini 2.0 flash preview and image generation. As you can see here, we have a rate limit of 10 requests per minute. So you can't generate more than 10 images per minute. And then a request rate of 1,500 requests per day. So yeah, it's pretty decent. Image quality as just a straight generator does seem to be improved. We took this prompt, Jungle Adventurer, kind of Lara Croft thing, and ended up with this as an output, which looks pretty solid. Just a little under par from Imagen 3's output, in my opinion. But of course, what we can't do in something like Imagen 3, Midjourney, etc., is give it the text prompt of, can you have her raise her right hand in the air and get an output like this, which, I mean, that's pretty good. Ultimately, anything on, at least on the creative side, that you generate in Gemini 2.0 right now, I think still needs to be taken through a creative upscaler. But I think we're all used to kit bashing here. So one major improvement that I've seen from this model is that it does listen to directions better. Initially in the old model, I tried to take, it was this image of Keanu Reeves from that film, The Day the Earth Stood Still, or the remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still. And I gave it the text prompt, can you put a black baseball cap on him? And, obviously we ended up with a completely different character. But this updated model does seem to be totally cool with putting a black baseball cap on Keanu Reeves. In the meantime, Google is gearing up for their I/O event that is coming up pretty soon, so I don't expect to see a lot of major Google announcements between now and then. I did hear an interesting rumor, though, that the number 2 is over this year, and kind of implying that if something's at a version 2, it will get bumped up, which is interesting because, well, there is VO2, so we'll see. Rounding out, Runway is now free. Well, kind of at least. Yes, you can now use the image generator frames and the character reference feature if you are on the free tier. Now, I am definitely not going to go into a lot of detail on this, considering that I have now covered this pretty extensively. Linked below will be a video on frames, the video on references, and then this week's video on Runway's references versus Midjourney's Omni reference. You can now use it if you're on the free plan. The limit is, it's like 11 images. So I think you have like 150 free credits. So it's not like you're going to be generating a ton of stuff. But if you've been wanting to give it a shot, you can now do so if you are on the free plan. So that's it for today. It's time for me to go check the news feed and see all the other crazy stuff that dropped today. I'm sure that I will be back very soon. In the meantime, I thank you for watching. My name is Tim.